Okay, so we're going to start with the legs here on these two end tables. Just take note that this order is part of a bigger order of a coffee table we already built. So some of this lumber has been partially milled up. So right now we're going to start with cut to the final length of the legs which we already started with the coffee table. We're milling some of this poplar up. This is going to be 100% poplar farmhouse type table. Dimensions are going to be 18 by 20 by 24. And here we're just going to start cutting the legs to the final length of 23 inches. There are the legs, the tables. So I like to always start with the legs when I mill up tables and build tables, since I could get my exact measurements for my aprons and stretchers. Even though you could draw them out and have an idea what they're going to be, but if you start milling your legs up and they come out a little thinner or a little thicker, due to like the wood and how good shape the wood is in, or sometimes they'll be a little thicker because the wood's already pretty clear. You don't have to plane it down, joint it to a certain point. Then I like to just cut the aprons and stretchers afterwards, get my exact measurements, so I don't have too little or too big of an overhang with the tabletop. Okay, so these stretchers and aprons will be the sides. These will be 15.5 inches. Legs are going to be 24, or going to be 23. The tables are going to be 24. So the bottom and top of these are going to be 15.5. That will make out about 18 inches in front to back from the sides, which will give us about an inch overhang for the top. So these tables are going to be 18 by 24. So the next cuts are going to be 13.5 inches. We're going to measure out cut now. We already had the wood partly milled up. We just got to cut it to the final length. Okay, so all of our frame pieces are roughly cut up to length, and the final width, for the most part, we're going to run them all through the planer now to get the final thickness, and just clean them up, make them nice and smooth, and then we'll match them up with our legs, and then we'll get ready to do assembly after we get everything sanded and routed. Okay, so everything is cut the final length, jointed and plane the final thickness, and also cut the final width. So we're almost ready to set up our joinery and assemble. First, we're going to run some router chamfers through the router table, or maybe just a hand router. We're going to run some chamfers on each edge, and then we're going to sand and then get ready for assembly. Okay, so this is all milled up and ready to go. Now we're ready to get ready to start our assembly. We still have to mill up bottom shelves, top, and the upside down V's we're going to be putting in. We'll do that after we get the assembly built. It will be not exposed. These will be outside. It will be exposed more. We'll have a nicer grain facing out. We'll use these little spacers as for my reveal. This will be my top. I have this facing in like that. So it will sit just like this. And that's pretty square off the bat. Okay. Grab a clamp. So what I like to use is my spacers, a square, some spacers for the bottom feet, and glue, driver, and my pocket screws. Alright, so let's start assembling. Okay, I'm gonna lay this on top of the spacer. And I'll show you and why we put the spacer here. So it is important though not to over tighten and over squeeze these things. Make sure. Stays flush. So we'll put that in now. Put that in. Okay, see here, I had a little bit of a mishap here. This is a scare situation. I hate when this happens. It happens once in a blue moon. I have another video with this happened, especially with this saw, it seems like. And this happens due to wood being too wide to go through my jointer as of right now. But I should have at least jointed the edges there, and that was my fault. I didn't think it was that bad, so I should have shimmed it. So you don't shim wood like that on miter saw, and it's kind of kinked and not straight to your fence, your miter saw, it could kick back like that. So that's the top pieces I was milling up. So now we're going to move on to the upside down V's, and next we'll get the bottom shelves we'll mill up. So we're kind of going to be bouncing around here a little bit. But first we're going to put these cleats in for the bottom shelf to sit in. And these are just going to be some scrap pieces of poplar left over from other projects and cut-offs from this project. Okay, so now we're going to cut these upside down V's. They're going the sides of these end tables. They're just little design features. Instead of an X, I use an upside down V, and I'm just going to cut these at about 17.5 inches in length with a 20-degree angle. So I can have a little space to brad nail these pieces into the top. Just take note when you're milling your tops up, especially, and you have to laminate, you have to make sure, it's imperative to make sure that your edges are straight, with no seams or gaps or any crookedness, because you have to glue these up and you do not want gaps in your glue up. And that's the idea. That's the good thing about a jointer. You can also use a table saw with a jig, like a square jig. Looks like an L. You can use one of them. I've used one of them. I think I have a video up there using that. Or you can use a track saw even if you're using real long boards, which I use, and I definitely have a video on that. Definitely makes it easier with your track. So here we're just going to start milling up the tops and bottoms. We're going to start with the top, and here's, as you see, I need to have no gaps in my glue up, and this is how the glue up will look. I'm not going to be using biscuits or anything for this. We're just going to be using glue. We're just going to glue these up and make sure we have even pressure. We're going to use some cauls, and make sure we don't over tighten, because we don't want these tops to have any bowing. And also, if you look, well, it's hard to say. I try to use the theory of the upside down grain and right side up grain, like the frown and the smile. Try to alternate the pieces in case there is any bowing. It will kind of offset each other. I don't know how perfect that is, but that's the steps I try to follow, and it seems to work for the most part, especially when you're gluing up more than two pieces together. So now we're going back to the bottom shelves here. We're just going to mill these up. I'm not going to get too detailed with this. It's the same exact process, except they don't need to be as, you're not laminating, so the edges don't need to be as square, but it's good to have everything nice and straight. Okay, so here we're going to use the track saw with the track to get the final dimensions of these tabletops. It just makes it a lot easier to use the track saw. You can also use a square or a good straight edge that you know is straight, and use a circular saw, which I've used that uh, process for years and years. So this definitely helps speed the process up, but you do not need a track saw to accomplish this.
Okay, so we're gonna finish these tops off. I'd like to start with an 80 grit, and then I'd work up to 100 grit, and then we'll work up eventually to 150 grit after we run the chamfer on the bottoms and tops of each tabletop. We're gonna run a slight chamfer, so we'll keep everything nice and soft edges here, and we're just gonna sand it up to about 150 grit. Okay, so this order is almost done here. We're just going to finish the bottom shelves here, mill them up to the final thickness since we already cut everything. And then we're going to do a nice sanding on everything. I like to use a little detail sander for the tight crevices and then use a regular sander to just get all the glue and any imperfections off. And here we're gonna use the biscuit joiner here to put our slots in for the tabletop fasteners that we're going to use the mount the tops. And I'm not going to show that in the video, but we're going to use that process for mounting the top and the bottom shelves. We're just going to brad nail in, just make it nice and simple. And I like the little rustic farmhouse type style for that. So here we're just going to put some mineral oil on these, just to help pop on a little bit, give it a little protection, and also it also shows the grain really well. And that's about it. This order's pretty much done. It came out very nice. I will probably be painting and staining this. I'm not sure though, but right now we're just going to go with the assembly of these tables. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks for watching.